Tonight we are making homemade cinnamon rolls. Who doesn't want to wake up on Christmas Eve to homemade cinnamon rolls? Now, I may be asking for my daughter's help from time to time, and if so, she does not want to be on film, so she will probably come around me and get on the other side of me. So let's start making some homemade cinnamon rolls so we can let them rise. You notice I have my KitchenAid mixer out, but I do not have any attachment because tonight I just want to use the bowl. When you make the homemade cinnamon rolls, you do not mix them. You actually combine them with a spoon, and then I'm going to knead them with my hands, so I will wash them afterwards. So what we're going to combine is a cup and a half of lukewarm milk, a half a cup of sugar. It's not much sugar, folks. 2 teaspoons of salt. And I would not recommend you doing the salt over the mixture. Because too much salt can ruin it. 2 teaspoons of salt. And then we put in the yeast mixture. Now, this recipe calls for cake yeast. I could not find cake yeast. If you are able to find cake yeast, instead of a cup and a half of lukewarm milk, I would go with 2 cups of lukewarm milk. I had to use dry yeast. So with dry yeast, you have to omit a half a cup of milk, and you combine a half a cup of lukewarm water with 2 packets of the dry yeast. If you're using the cake yeast, you only need 1 packet. And this is set for 5 minutes. It was lukewarm, and you stir it after it sits. You do not stir it while it's sitting at all, not until after the 5 minutes. And to make sure it's lukewarm, what we did is we used a temperature thermometer to make sure the milk was lukewarm between 110 and 130 degrees, and made sure the water is lukewarm. You do not want it to get over 130 degrees because it will not activate the yeast. You want the yeast to be activated. So we put the yeast mixture in. We stir in 2 eggs. Hello. I am making the dough for homemade cinnamon rolls. 2 eggs, and you use a half a cup of margarine that is softened. I like to use, as I stated in my other ones, I like to use unsalted butter. And then you mix this with a spoon. Actually, I think I'm going to go ahead and put this on so I can mix up this. I think when I add the flour, I will go ahead and mix it up with, I just want everything to mix up nicely. I am making the dough for homemade cinnamon rolls. These cinnamon rolls are absolutely amazing. This recipe is actually, I'm going to share it with you guys. It's been passed down from generation to generation. A lot of my recipes are passed down from generation to generation. It is good. And I will tell you while I'm letting this mix up before I put in the flour, if you can find cake yeast, the initial is you use 2 cups of lukewarm water. Lukewarm water is a temperature between 110 and 130 degrees. And I would suggest you use a temperature gauge. You use a half a cup of sugar and 2 teaspoons of salt. Now, if you cannot find cake yeast, go ahead and buy the dry yeast. If you use the dry yeast, what you need to do is you need to put it in lukewarm water and omit a half a cup of milk. And that will go ahead, and you let it sit for 5 minutes. Do not stir the yeast while it is rising. Make sure the water is lukewarm. The difference it makes if you use cake yeast you're able to crumble in and you need more liquid to activate it, whereas the dry yeast, you need to activate it first before you put it into the mixture, which means at that point you have to let it sit to activate the yeast. There is the difference between cake yeast and dry yeast. And then once I put in the yeast, I went ahead and put in 2 eggs and a half a cup of margarine. I use butter, I use unsalted, softened. And now I'm just letting it mix up. And then once I get done mixing this, you put 7 to 7.5 cups of flour, and then we're gonna mix it by hand. I'm not gonna use the mixer to mix in the flour. And then you let it sit. I will knead it and let it sit for hours, sometimes hours, because what I have to do is the dough will have to literally double in size. How many rolls does this make? This cinnamon roll package will make about 24. This recipe will make about 24 cinnamon rolls, and they are very, very good. The next portion I will have to do 2 lives because as the dough sits, sometimes it takes hours to rise. And once it takes hours to rise, then I will show you guys how you punch it, and then we'll roll it out, and I will show you the cinnamon mixture that we use. And believe it or not, the cinnamon mixture we use is just a really dry mixture that we put in the middle of the cinnamon rolls. So in this, I'm mixing it up. The lukewarm milk, sugar, salt, yeast, 2 eggs, and the margarine. I'm going to turn this off. Pull this up. Because at this point, what I want to do is start putting in the flour. We put in 7 to 7.5 cups of flour. And again, just like with the salt, I would recommend you measuring it over the sink. You don't want too much flour. I mean, if you put too much flour in, I mean, it just makes your cinnamon rolls a little more cakier, which is fine. One. And this is where I'd have my daughter helping me, but she says, I don't want to be on film, so I'll be asking her to do the flour, so it wouldn't take so long. You want to come over and do the flour for me? 2. Seriously, you want to come over and do the flour? No? 3. I probably should have measured this out. I'm sorry, guys. 4. Last night I made 6. Last night I made homemade Christmas cookies, and I will tell you, it is another family secret. And when I asked if I could share that recipe, my family went about ape. So I was not able to share it. I asked tonight when I was making these cinnamon rolls if I could share this recipe, and they were like, sure, we don't care. 7. And you can already see, you can't look, you didn't see in there where the mixture is starting to rise with the yeast. And you just hand mix this. You do not use the mixer when you are putting in the flour. And recommend you use a spoon first because we're going to need it with our hands next, and I will go ahead and wash my hands before I do that. Go ahead and wash my hands. So I hope everyone had a great day today. I hope you guys are able to spend some time with get some time off for the holidays and spend some time with your family. You know, family is everything, and Christmas is made for us, and the greatest gift ever is Jesus Christ came to earth, and he came so he could die for our sins, and that is the greatest gift ever. A lot of people get stressed out this time of year. So just go ahead and knead the mixture. And it may seem dry, just keep kneading it because you need to mix everything in there. Try to make sure you get to the bottom because that's where a lot of the moisture is. Hi! Is it for Christmas? It's actually for Christmas Eve. I'm making cinnamon rolls for Christmas Eve for the family. And I put in seven cups of flour. I'm going to tell you, you don't need 7.5. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in a container and let it rise. And I will see you guys back. I will probably actually just film the next one and go ahead and cut it. So those of you who are watching, thank you. I am actually getting ready to put this in a bowl and I'm going to let it rise. It will probably take several hours to rise. And then after it rises, I'm going to go ahead and start making the cinnamon rolls, and they will need to sit for a little bit before I put them in the oven. Thank you for watching.